So let's talk about what was happening today. Did you see what people, everybody in the world wanted me to bring this to my attention yesterday about the rabbis video telling you see this? 5 rabbis, including the former chief rabbi, saying you should go to Har HaBayit. I mean, it's basically Arabic subtitles to give to the Arab world. Basically, we don't want to go to Har HaBayit. Please take it off our hands, type of thing. It's not you'd be surprised, but it's not Notori Parta. It's mainstream rabbi types. Okay, well, good. So it's because you're not stuck in Israeli society yet. Well, you want to see who was the chief rabbi Yitzhak Yosef? Yeah, it was yesterday. It happened yesterday. Like I said, if you're disconnected from the news and stuff, Shrecha. Well, there was no. Okay, so either way, why is it important to know this? So I sent this back to the people who sent it to me. I said that we mentioned this before in Sanhedrin, Kuf Aleph, going to Kuf Bet, I think. It mentions what happens with Yerovam ben Nevat's sinister plot to prevent Jews from going to Har HaBayit. The worst thing is if Jews go on pilgrimage. That would be the biggest threat to his political power, right? So you had the whole Achila Shiloni thing, a psak. It's us to go. We have a new alternate place of pilgrimage. So that was a mistake of psak, which, by the way, it was originally signed by who? Achia Shiloni, the prophet, the leading prophet at the time. The chain in the Masorah between, according to Rambam at least, the chain between David HaMelech and Eliyahu Hanavi. He was the link in that chain. So these are sinister political intentions. Now, Rabbi Victor Miller uses as a precedent that what are you going to do? Some people, they stick to the psak. Great rabbis have issued their halachic opinion, their halachic ruling. It's well recorded and well known, so people stick to it. And that's a limud zchus. That's a mitigating factor when we consider the plight of the 10 tribes. Were they guilty of what they did, abandoning the temple? So this is a halachic precedent. Now, you'd think that you could use this as an analogy for other mistakes made within the halachic rabbinic world over the course of history. Like, try to find an example in history, let's say in the 1200s, in the Middle Ages, in the times of the Tanaim, of a psak that was issued and endorsed by major rabbinic figures, which involved bitul aseh. Bitul aseh means no longer doing a certain mitzvah. Okay? No longer, like I said, the examples, Talmud Torah. Well, is there such an example? Well, I don't know, but is that a mistake? Because the Torah does allow for chalitza. Some people would say such a thing. Yeah, whatever. Maybe is that a mistake? It's reported in the Talmud that already that there were Amoraim who said maybe Yibum is not wanted. Okay, good. So there's an example. But you have such a thing like Chachmei Ashkenaz have agreed. No more Yibum. Right? We'll never have it again. By the way, I don't think it's such a rock hard thing. There are rabbinic figures who mention, the Ashkenaz tradition and just say no Yibum, just do chalitza. Rabbi Avi Grossman doesn't like this. He thinks that the Rabbanut just going on this. Yes, maybe that's an example. You thought of an example. So it's ironic that Rabbi Avi Grossman says, how could the rabbis, there's a tshuva he wrote, how could the rabbis cancel Yibum? It's the lichatchila option. You don't totally know when you do, right? So why is chalitza something there? I can't stand it. But then again, hold on 1 second. This case, what we have right now with the rabbi saying no going to Har HaBayit, not only is it analogous to the original case brought in the Gemara, the mistake in psak, it was intentional. On Yerovam's part, it was intentional. On Achia, Shiloni, and others' part, it was unintentional. They're showing him in this case that their signatures appeared on the psak. But nowadays, not only is this analogous, it's mamish the same gzeira. Don't go to Har HaBayit. They're repeating the whole thing. They're signing on it, which shows that they have no appreciation for history. Okay, so the analogy doesn't even have to be made. So, like I said, Tisha B'Av Chai V'Kayim. Tisha B'Av was just 2 days ago, right? Came to an end 25 hours ago. It's still going strong. You still see that which caused Tisha B'Av originally is still happening now. If you're looking for the Sinas Chinam among the political class for regular Jews, they're those who are willing to destroy their country and their people for their own political power. You are at no loss. You do not like Rabbi Jules who say, do I lack crazies? We don't lack any of them. And if you're looking for, let's say, I don't know, we said the Sinas Chinam, and we have Jewish turncoats, right? And if you're looking for people who are trying to destroy the temple, you have no no loss. I remember Rabbi Yitzchak Cohen used to talk about that. One of the things that we cried out on Shavasa B'Tammuz, if I'm not mistaken, is that they set up an idol in the temple. Well, not selling by that wasn't the destruction of the temple. That's something that happened beforehand. That happened in history, by the way, a few times. That an idol was set up in the temple, right? So Rabbi Cohen, I remember, how could it be? This is the summer of 2003. How could it be of Etzelem B'Heichal? Because you put Etzelem in your Heichal here. You're supposed to, your mind is God's temple. When the Jewish people put a false God in their minds, so the physical manifestation of the state of the Jewish mindset is Etzelem, an idol in the temple, right? The destruction of the temple reflects the destruction of the inner temple. You don't keep a place for proper worship of God and understanding of God within your heart, so the temple will be destroyed. Once the people don't deserve a temple because they're not on that level, so the temple, the Mela, gets destroyed. It's a reflection of their state. Now, this is something that's kind of hard to understand, by the way. What is the proper state of mind for the Jewish community to have in order that the temple should survive in their midst? Right? What is that? What does that mean? And the answer is, this isn't some sort of esoterical idea. This is actually pretty clear. When you have Jewish rabbis ostensibly going and telling Goyim, we do not have a share in the temple, even today, that's basically the destruction of the temple. They're basically saying, go ahead and destroy the temple. So, and also, I think that you have to watch out that they're basically saying we believe in the coming of the Messiah. Why are they saying this? They're saying, we do not want to go to the base of Mikdash, right? What about tomorrow? I looked on the calendar. There's a halacha in the Gemara there. It talks about a Nazir. Person takes a Nazirite vow, right? He says, I'm gonna be a Nazir the day Mashiach comes, or the day before Mashiach comes, right? You heard of such a case? So he becomes a Nazir, except on Shabbos. The first Shabbos he's not, because Mashiach can't come on Shabbos. But if he takes the oath on a weekday, so because, Mashiach is very well shown up, today. So basically he's a Nazir. It's a Gemara then. That's the halacha. He becomes a Nazir. Not only that, who is a posthumous? There's been a lot of Sifrei Torah burned. So one suggestion I like is that it was the Sefer Torah. Ezra Sefer Torah, the Sefer HaZara, the official copy that they kept in Second Temple times, the one from which they copied all the other Sefer Torah. So not only that, we don't. It says Vayishakehu, Vayishakehu. So that was that means Ezra says, that I didn't know if that word should be there or how it should. That's the proper spelling. So he put dots over the word. Okay. No, it was a question. He was misupak. Well, whatever, that word shouldn't be there. Perhaps it's a different word, but we don't know what the different word might have been, or maybe the word shouldn't be there even. So that's what the dots mean. Okay. Now, what was I saying? So these people, by saying you shouldn't go to Har HaBayit, they're declaring we don't want to go to Har HaBayit, you should then ask the follow-up. Remember, telling a half-truth is sometimes even more effective than a good lie. When they go and say this video to the Arabs, we don't want to have anything to do in Har HaBayit, we're not going up there and all that. They're telling a half-truth. You know why? Because they're implying you guys can have it. Whereas if they were honest about halacha, let's say, I don't believe this halacha, Jews should not be going to Har HaBayit, right? You can make a case for such a thing. But you know what is unequivocal in halacha that everybody agrees about is Gentiles are not allowed. Okay? They're not allowed to be on the chel. So you're not allowed to say, well, yeah, I can't go. Really, if the Rabbanut were honest, and these rabbis were honest, what would they say? With all due respect, you all should be getting out. Okay? There should be, if they really believed in the sanctity of the Temple Mount, it should be surrounded by Levites and Kohanim who are preventing everybody from going in. And they should have the authority, or at least the license, to use corporal punishment to prevent anybody from going to Har HaBayit. But they're not saying such a thing. Not only that, they're basically saying that, wait a minute, tomorrow if their Messiah shows up, let's say this goes over well in the Arab world and other places where they're trying to mollify them. You can ask them, wait a minute, what they didn't say is that, and if somehow or other our Messiah does show up today or tomorrow, all bets are off. We're going to kick you out for the Temple Mount, and we're going to build the temple, and only we're going to go back, we're going to agree with those other Jews. They're basically, hoping Mashiach doesn't come. It was like long ago, or 17 years ago, more than that, we had our first vegetarian over for Shabbos. So we've had a way of, for years we used to actually accommodate the vegetarians and vegans at the Shabbos table. You know about this, right? So We've even had some vegetarian Shabbases. So we asked this fellow at the Shabbos meal. We said, "Yeah, what are you going to do on Pesach time? Why? What's Pesach time? Korban Pesach. You have to eat some meat. One time a year, you have to eat some meat." He says, "Oh, don't worry. That will be when Mashiach comes. Don't worry about that." So that's basically what they're saying here. Okay. Well, Dina Malchusa Dina is a highly limited rule. It doesn't have to do with Isser V'Heter. And Dina Malchusa cannot tell you to just don't keep the Torah.
They put restrictions.
Well,
they put the restrictions.
No, they can't. Dina de Malchusa has to do with an area of halacha that, by the way, Chazal would discuss between you and me. There is legal matters. Okay, Sefer Mishpatim, Ezekiel. We can make a deal whereby I relinquish my rights, my monetary rights in halacha. Right? Normally, for example, you're a type of shomer. Let's say. Remember the 4 shomrim? So each shomer has a certain amount of liability. You know, it depends on anus or shia, right? And sometimes he could take a solemn oath and basically exempt himself from payment. What if I decide to just tell you, you know what? I'll give you I'll let you off. You know, you'll only be obligated for real acts of negligence. Oh, that's against the Torah. No, I can make a stipulation that I'm going to waive the rights that the Torah gives me. So too, Din Malchusa operates within the realm where people are allowed to make their own stipulations. Okay, where the government can intervene and say, but this person needs, we're guaranteeing his monetary rights of some sort. But the Dina de Malchusa cannot override, let's say, biblical law, right? Unequivocal biblical law. And I'm not good at explaining this. Maybe we should have a shir about this. I remember the Rambam's says about this. It's highly limited where Dina de Malchusa works. Dina de Malchusa cannot tell you, no keeping Shabbos, which, by the way, is kind of scary. Which brings us to the next thing, that aside from these rabbis basically saying that they deny that the Messiah is coming, because they're basically saying they don't want a piece of the Temple Mount, and that if Mashiach had shown up knocking at the door when they were recording this and said, "Hello, I'm inviting you to the temple," just fell from the sky, what would he have said in the video? Can you imagine that? They pointed out that this Rabbi Cohen, who's an older gentleman, had a picture of the temple behind him as he recorded this. A big, grand picture of the temple behind him. If the Messiah had shown up while he's telling these Arabs, "Yes, I have no intention of going to Har HaBayit, and you're supposed to stay away from there, it's against the halacha," and the Mashiach came knocking at his door, "Hello, I'm the King Messiah. Hello, Your Majesty. How can I help you? We're going to the temple now." Would he have said, "Oh, sorry, I wasn't telling the truth"? Yeah, it's kind of difficult. Rabbi Sonnenfeld, when they were taking the census and the British mandate, what is the language of the Jews in the Yishuv? So the Zionists, they spoke Hebrew. The old Yishuvniks spoke what? Yiddish. So he told everybody on the census, the official British census, right after World War II, you have to write Hebrew. That's right. Hebrew, what are we, Zionists? Says, well, we're Jews, aren't we? How do we speak to God? Yeah, we make a big deal how we don't like their modern Hebrew and all that. But push comes to shove, we can't deny this. Okay? So let's continue with this. In fairness, by the way, there are those who hold that if the Beis Hamikdash is destroyed, we should be heading out to Gullus. We should be handing over the keys to Har HaBayit to the Goyim. We're supposed to allow them to kill us, by the way. If they were to have another Holocaust, we'd have to go along with it. You know why? Because that's what they hold. So there are some who are that crazy. There's some, I don't want to name names. The Torah archetypes want the Jews to fold up shop and turn this into a non-Jewish country. Hand over control to our enemies. Of course, the next day they'd kill everybody, but that's besides the point. Okay? So they've repudiated the building of the temple, which is kind of weird. And this just reinforces an idea that we have to watch out about using the law. They're basically going to say that we had mentioned 2 weeks ago that the whole reason we don't go to Har HaBayit was a sinister political trick. What was the problem? The Moshe Dayan types, led by Moshe Dayan, didn't like Jews going to Har HaBayit because to them that was a Vatican. That was the Jewish thing. We're trying to be a secular state, and the fact that we have this religious renaissance is bad. And there were some Orthodox rabbis who were very much opposed to it for their own Orthodox reasons. They weren't ready to build a temple. They didn't prepare for this contingency. So for them, it was just like, no, an allergic reaction. And they combined forces to basically lock off Har HaBayit to Jews. And then they create this myth that if we allow Jews in Har HaBayit, what are the going to do to us? There's someone sarcastically wrote on Twitter, Hashem Yishmor, that that's the problem is we're dealing with these peace-loving Palestinians who are just there waiting to make peace with us, and they want to coexist with us. But then they saw daven Har HaBayit, and now they have to kill us. But we shouldn't have provoked them like that, because they wanted peace, and we antagonize them too much. So this is sinister. The whole idea that this will lead to God knows what. Who knows? Maybe they'll want to attack us on our holidays and murder babies and stuff like that. And go to Har HaBayit. So that's a problem. So now it's the same coalition. Who is it? It's Yair Lapid, intended, and he's known as a great religious scholar, right? And Ari Derry, who Rabbi Avi Grossman called a criminal, So who's going to trust him? Remember the videos got out of him saying, "All right, how much of a schutz this guy is," and then they had a whole thing. Oh, we have to apologize to whom? I don't know. Whatever. That's a different story. So they're combining their powers to try to pass a law in Knesset prohibiting Jews from the temple now. You heard about this? That was the result of all this. Well, that was in the news, so you have to read Israeli news. So this is terrible because if this law passes, once you give a thing like that, first of all, you have a law. You can't keep the Torah. What's going to be next? Whenever they do such a thing, what comes next? No bris milah, no Shabbos, no tefillin. What a terrible, terrible idea saying Jews can't do such a thing. Make a law against it. But there you go. We have to watch out. We have to watch out for our enemies within and our enemies without. If you're wondering why there is no temple standing, I present to you Tisha B'Av and Motzei Tisha B'Av this year. You got to see tons of stuff. You know exactly how it went down the last time around also. What brought about the destruction of the temple? Now you've seen it. You've seen it. There were Aryeh Deri and Yair Lapid and mistaken rabbis and Jewish turncoats. You see all of them. And they're all around us, so we have to fix it. And I think the best way to fix it is by educating the next generation. Like I said, when I was in yeshiva, we didn't learn any of these things.
We would like to encourage our viewers to share these videos with friends and send in your responses. If you would like to obtain Birkon Nusach Eretz Yisrael or invite the rabbi for a speaking engagement, please email us at office@machonshilo.org.